G'day and welcome to Aussievision. We've just had dress rehearsals for semi-final one, plus a few Big Five countries. We're here in the media centre with the lovely Liv and Mike, and obviously I'm Dale. And we're going to go through each country one by one and just give our thoughts about how we thought their dress rehearsal went. Now we have the 3 minutes of footage. So let's start with Norway. Alessandra, Queen of Kings. Liv, what do you think?
I mean, it really is just her national final on steroids. It looks great. She does sound like maybe she's getting like a little bit of strain in the vocal. Was it just me? Or maybe she's just holding back a bit and it sounded a bit like that. But overall, it is a really compelling package and it does hit hard and start the show really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's exactly what we have here. It is a little bit elevated. I feel she was holding back a little on the vocals. I think it all ticks the boxes and it's a really good show opener.
Yeah, I think because she starts, you kind of forget it was just done very well. Everything was great. The costumes look really good. The backing dancers, I love that. And I do agree that she was definitely holding back, but probably because her voice might be getting a little strained as the week goes on, just like mine is a little bit at the moment. But I think thumbs up, like no issues there. And I think she could take it even further when she gets to the grand final. All right, Malta, the busker. Mike, I'll start with you on this one.
Thanks, Dale. Look, there is a lot going on in this package. It is kind of high impact. For me, it feels a little messy. There is a lot of movement going on. They're interacting with props. There's a lot of dancing going on. It's very energetic. It's going to appeal to some people. I personally think it feels a bit messy.
Okay.
Personally, for me, this was elevated massively, especially that first half, Act 1 and 2. I thought I was really there for that whole story and it really picked me up. It lost me a little bit when we got to Act 3 and the silver change. There's like this one shot where Dave is just kind of kicking out by himself and everyone's obviously quickly doing a saxophone change and a gear change, but it just felt like it lost a bit of momentum at the end. But then talking to other press friends here, they were like, oh, I thought the end of it was actually the best, so not sure.
Well, I disagree with them and I agree with you because I do think, number one, Act 1 and 2, really good. I was watching Act 1 and 2 they're going through.
Yeah.
The LEDs are great, the performance is really good, great camera shots, and then I think that whole part, I don't know why they're doing it, but it just feels a bit clunky and I feel it loses the momentum. It does come back with a little bit at the end, but it feels a bit different from the whole rest of the performance and not in a good way. So I don't know, I loved it and then I didn't, so I feel a bit 50-50 on it. All right, well, let's go through to Serbia. I'll come back to you again on Liv on this one. What do you think of Luke Black?
I mean, it sort of did everything it did at the national final, but just more polished. I would actually say his vocals are improved, and especially the diction. I could understand what he was saying much easier this time around, so that's a big check for me. I would say it's definitely elevated quite nicely.
Yeah, I agree. Elevated quite nicely. The whole concept was there from the national final. It just has been elevated. I liked some of the LED use. I thought they had a nice starscape at one point in the background, and it brings that dystopian kind of vibe. So it's definitely doing what it's supposed to. The song itself, I'm not entirely sure. Could be a Vegemite song for a lot of people.
I didn't know how I felt about this, actually. I found it was well done from what they did the national final, but it almost felt like the bigger stage suited it less when I felt like it should have suited it more. I don't know, it felt a bit stark at times, almost a bit empty, but maybe that was because I think there was quite a long
There was a lot of wide shots and I was just like, bring it back in.
Totally. So I think if they tighten it up, I think it can have a lot more impact than maybe what we saw today. So I'm not feeling very confident to say either way whether that was really good or not so good, really, but he could definitely bring it. All right, Latvia, Southern Lights. Mike, I thought this was good.
Yeah, this is good. This is a glow up from their national final performance. Certainly the LED use here in Liverpool is helping this performance because I think they can give it more dimension and a bit more sparkle and some really nice floor LED use. They've changed the song a little bit to me and tried to make it a bit bigger and give it vocal moments. So, yeah, I think an improved package from Latvia.
Liv?
Yeah, I think it's improved, but also less is more at the same time because there's so many bombastic entries this year and it was nice to have quite an intimate kind of entry. There's some kind of nice little orange glowy stuff that they do on the LEDs and it really does feel lovely.
Yeah, it's almost like sparks are coming off the instrument. When the guys in the drums, it feels like they're coming off them, like even the performers. I really like it. It gives a little bit more energy to it, to the whole performance overall. Everything that was good about the national finals there, but they've definitely made some good use of this stage, more than a lot of other acts have. The LED floor is used and used well. A lot of other people have just used it because it's there. They've made it sort of complementary to their performance. I still think it's a struggle to qualify, but they've definitely given themselves much more of a chance than they did before today started, I thought. Portugal. This is an interesting one. What do you think, Liv?
I don't know. I really like it in a lot of ways, but it's just kind of like red on red on red on red. It's like I'm getting red fatigue. Like, her vocal was sublime. I would say it's the best vocal that you'll hear up to that point, but visually I just felt like it was too repetitive, and I was starting to just get fatigued from it.
Yeah, I'll tend to agree with that, Liv. With her in red, I mean, she's stunning with that lovely feathery dress, etc. And then we have those backup dancers, and they're in a very matte red, so they're not popping, and it feels, there is some nice LED use in the background, some black and white things that move around. It just feels like it's in third gear or something.
Yeah.
It needed a little bit more.
Because she's got it. She's a great performer, and she carries this whole thing. Like, she's fantastic. But I agree, that kind of stark red where there's no kind of elements, like a bit of sparkle on her or something, and then just a very dark background. I just don't think that darkness suits for the whole song. Like, give me one more thing, and I think it could really jump out. But yeah, I kind of just got a bit bored with it.
There's some nice traditional sort of almost choreography elements in there and stuff. There's a lot of movement on the stage, but they're not popping for me. It's just not popping the way I thought it might.
All right, Ireland, we saw the pictures, gold suit. What do we think of the performance? I'll go to you, Liv, first.
I thought the pyro was cute. Otherwise, it just feels disjointed. The way they've placed the props around the stage, the camera shots they've chosen, the movement choices they've made, there's not really any piece that comes together. The colours they've chosen, it's just so disjointed. I can't.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're playing around during the rehearsals with that colour palette, because I think if you're going to go the whole gold thing, then you can't pop in some of the other colours, because it just didn't work. He sort of wanders around the stage. I wouldn't say he's prowling and owning the whole thing. I don't know, it felt lackluster, unfortunately. Vocal-wise, it wasn't it either, unfortunately.
For something that had so many elements in it, it just kind of fell flat. I totally agree. The colour with the gold is it just completely clashes. There's not the ownership of it overall. Stick with the gold, do it well. There was some okay LED floor use. I liked a little bit of pyros at the end. So I think this is in struggle town, unfortunately. So let's move on to the next one. Croatia, Michael.
Yeah, well, we've seen this in the national final. We've seen it in the pre-parties. We kind of knew what was coming. Of course, there's an elevated element to it. It is what it is. This is what the boys do. I think it really works for me personally. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. They have toned down some of the perhaps elements towards the end, but it's a bit cheeky still. So I like it. Not everyone is.
Yeah, possibly a little less cheek than we're used to seeing, but it still has, like, the crazy little elements that if this is what you want, you're going to get it. The vocal, for what it is doing its thing, and, not much to be said otherwise.
For the chaos that the whole thing is, it was actually done pretty well for the Eurovision stage. I'm not a fan of this song at all, but I have to give credit where it's due. And actually, I felt like structured chaos, where it felt like chaos before, like the way they said it came in the line and they did that, and the way they ended, it worked for what it is, and I actually think they made it a bit more palatable, because it wasn't, it was vile to me in the national final, and I actually think that was something that I didn't mind. So I don't know if I'm warming to Croatia, but I did actually find that performance not too horrendous. Switzerland, Michael.
Probably the big glow up for me today. I think they've made some very, very good artistic choices. It is very atmospheric, and they use a lot of smoke. Interesting choice of sort of that modern dance type of thing to accompany him. I guess it gives it movement, but he is definitely one of the best vocalists we saw today. He really sells it. I personally think this is going through from what I see.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely on its way up after that staging. I don't know how high the incline is, but it is that direction. His vocal is definitely the highlight here. It definitely stands out, and that's definitely my favourite part.
I think this is, like, you look at that and it's slick and it's well done, and it just screams jury love that song. That would just be like the juries would put that through. We're in 100% telly vote. I think there's enough there because it's just everything's been done well without you loving it, but I think because there's a few other ones that I don't think have risen when they could have, I think it could safely sneak into those last few places, and then I think it could get a good jury score come the grand final if it does get through. So it was very well done. I don't like those red kind of flares things coming in. It to me is trying to look like almost like missiles coming in, which I think is again another taste level like those horrendous lyrics.
But I think they have avoided overdoing it or over egging it on that side. So
On the war
I
side.
appreciate that.
Okay, fair enough. Israel, Noah, Corral, Unicorn, Liv. Thoughts?
All right, 2/3 of it, superb, fabulous, amazing. The first third, I love some ideas here. So the box, there is a great concept there, but her just standing still, it doesn't really find a second gear until the backing dancers come in. Like she still looks amazing. She sings it great. It definitely visually is cool, but it's just really lacking, and then it just gets better, and finishes on a high.
Yeah, I kind of agree. There's sort of various parts to this. The opening and that lighting rig she used, it does sort of give you some weird spatial kind of things. You don't know if she's lying down, you don't know, so it kind of ruins messes with your head. But you're right, once the dancers come on, it becomes really, really high energy. She is vocally very, very good. The dance break at the end, I think if they get the right camera angles, it will be spectacular. And yeah, big finish at the end. So yeah, good, liked it.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like the 2/3, what you said, Liv, there, I couldn't agree more. It smashes it when it gets to the choreography. I do find her dance break bit at the start still a bit odd. It feels like she's trying to just get up off the floor, but then it comes down really strong. And those dances, that was the best choreography easily that we saw. It was so well done. Huge impact, but I feel like it was quite flat in that first third. But I think you'll forget about it by the end of the song. It won't matter if you think it's flat, I don't think. But yeah, it could impact its maybe big chances of doing very well come that top 10 of grand final. Moldova, let's get back to you again, Liv. Thoughts?
I mean, it's definitely, I would say Pasha's vocal is improved, which is really good because I had some question marks after the national final, so good relief to see that it's gotten better. I like some of the concepts here. It feels like some traditional and folky stuff is sort of being woven in, and there's enough of a story there for me to be like, okay, it's got a point of difference, great. But it's very dark. Sometimes I'm like struggling to see anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, can we like put some light on the stage, please? Cheers, yeah.
Look, interesting. I can't say I'm a massive fan of the song. However, they do kind of make the most of what they got to a degree. I think I like the way he interacts more with the two backing vocalists, the two female backing vocalists. The drummers to me seem superfluous, but I guess it's adding that kind of tribal element to it. I find the last minute starts dragging for me, and the repetitive nature of the song starts to become a bit more apparent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not massive on this, but I really should be. And I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of that instrumental, because the instrumental is really good. It's that kind of chorus part, really. And it was the guy playing the flute. No, he does a good job, but like it just seemed a bit one note. I kind of wanted more impact, but I think Pasha performs it really well. And I agree, if there's a bit more light, it could definitely lift. And I think people will like this. I do think this will get through, but I just think it could have been more. It was good, but I think it could have been better. Sweden, Loren, Tattoo. Mike.
Oh, coming to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's very, very, very good. This is excellent. It's Lorraine. She sings it really well. She played around a little bit with the vocals today. You can see the light rig, I guess, is what everybody's going to be talking about. It's definitely smaller than Melody Festivalen, and I don't know if it has the impact that it had in Melody Festivalen. But is that going to change its chances of winning? Probably not, because most of the crowd wouldn't have seen Melfest. So still very, very, very good from Sweden. I can imagine they're tweaking a few things still.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest glow up here was Lorene's vocal. I think she's taken it to a next level for Melody Festivalen. It just sounds a little bit clearer, crisper. The intonation seems really on point. So for me, that was a huge plus to see that. For me, that it has improved. And I would say that the smoke ratio that they got today was quite nice. It wasn't sort of overpowering or sparse, so it helped blend the LEDs in with her much better.
Yeah, I think she's owning this a lot more. She always was, but the staging was almost bigger than her in the song in a way, and now it's come back to be that she's actually the main story, I think. When you're in the illusion that they created at Melfest, where you don't see the breaks in the LEDs and you don't see that kind of like wood trimmings and stuff like that, it looks just as spectacular. But when you're taken out of that illusion, I don't know, it definitely loses impact, there's no doubt. But like you said, Mike, people have never seen it before. Are they still going to be wowed by it? It's so hard to know. It's very hard to see through our eyes because we don't have fresh eyes to see it. She can definitely still win, but she has definitely opened the doors for other people to jump in there and particularly snatch it off her, I think. Azerbaijan, it was a bit of a change of pace there, actually. What do you think, Liz?
It actually felt really well placed in the running order as a bit of a palate cleanser. Like, I just remember it came on, I was kind of like, it actually felt like a good spot for it, because I know a lot of people were a bit concerned when it was going to be after Lorraine, but like, I actually wouldn't be too concerned about it at this point. I think there's a couple of interesting camera choices, but otherwise, you know, it's well and good.
Yeah, I like the colour palette they're using on this one. I think it's really rich and I think it adds to the performance. You're right with some of those camera angles, particularly as they use a lot of split screen stuff, and I think some of the choices were just head scratching. Also, the boys, they can sing it. They just got to watch when they do the dual vocal that they're in sync, because once they fall out of sync a little bit, it sounds a little bit messy. But generally, I think what they've done pretty well with.
Yeah, look, I love this song actually. It's in my top 10. The staging is not in my top 10. I still think it's okay. I think there's some good elements. I like what they're wearing. I do like the colour choices, and I think the lighting looks really good. There's a few things with the vocals, definitely, but I don't think that's the kind of thing that's kind of hitting it here. I don't know, there's also the split screens, which sometimes looks really good, but they overuse it at times, and they don't even make sense at other times. And even the broken heart thing, which I think is a good prop, to me that's like a male, female, male, female, female, just a couple. It's something I expect to see in a relationship breakup. I find it odd in this setting. I don't get it.
It seems unnecessary, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it adds anything, and it just kind of distracts in a way. But look, I think they're going to struggle to qualify, in my humble opinion. Czechia, My Sister's Crown, Michael.
This is an interesting one. It's probably been a bit of a grower for me over the season. I do think the performance itself is very, very good, and obviously it's very difficult with so many performers, etc., to be cohesive, but they do manage it. I wish perhaps they would pop a bit more with what they're wearing. They've made some choices, but generally it's very, very good. I like it when they come to the front of the stage and create a moment. So yeah, look, I think it's very, very good. Very good.
Liv?
As a bit of a music performance student, I remember red flagging this from day one, like, how are they going to get that vocal, make it pop, and be cohesive? Because those melodies are bloody difficult. I would say they have one of the hardest vocal jobs of the contest this year, but it actually came together really quite well. There was only a few moments where I was a bit like, oh, that was a bit messy, but honestly, if that's all I'm saying, then big thumbs up. Similar with Portugal, I'm just getting like pink fatigue. I just want like some other colours. I would say like the actual words and the visuals of the hands, really impactful, really, really good. But perhaps there were some other outfit choices they could have made to maybe just elevated it a bit more. But I mean, it does still look really good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, there's parts I really love, like when they're all on a line and doing some very simple things, like with their hair and just walking like a very slow catwalk. It's actually quite visually stunning in its simplicity, I think, and the pink and white work really well. But there is too much of the pink and white for the whole thing. It does get. I found myself 2/3 of the way through almost kind of slightly switching off and not engaging with the song as much. But this is better than I thought it was going to be based on the picks and stuff, because I was expecting more bold colours. But there's a lot of this works, but I just think maybe a few more elements just to change it up a little bit would have helped. But I do think this will still do pretty good.
Yeah, I think the problem I have as well with that all wearing the same colour is basically they will blend into one another. So I'm not connecting with any of them as a performer individually. You want to be cohesive, but you still want to have something to stand out.
Yeah, like who's the lead or who's the other person. And even when the person does a rap, that's which one was that? Yeah.
More like the music video.
Netherlands, Mike.
Oh, okay, thank you. I really enjoyed this. I thought it came across really, really well. We know the Netherlands always go for that sort of dark, moody kind of staging with the little splashes of impact, and that works. They have worked on the vocal quite clearly. The changes to the song have improved it. I thought it was very good today, and they don't look as terrified as they were, so that's a start. I really enjoyed it. I thought it came across very, very well.
It sort of feels a bit like they got, Calm After the Storm and Arcade and just went and just ate it up. So there are aspects of this staging that I think look really expensive, really nice, really beautiful. But then other bits that are almost a bit awkward, clunky, and I'm just like, okay, so there are some staging highs for me where I'm just like, oh, that looks unreal, and then other bits where I'm just like, oh, Jesus, okay. So I would say definitely the key change that they made to the song, much more accessible to their vocals. Big thumbs up for that. The staging, I just have some question marks, but maybe they can iron it out before we go live.
Yeah, I think the good news here is it's not going to be the vocal that's going to be any issue, or that it's going to be about that staging, which are great elements that come out from an arcade, but we've sort of seen it all before as well. So I think it might be impactful for a little bit, but overall for the whole 3 minutes, I don't know, are people going to be engaged the whole way through? I just think maybe the song and the staging will be more of its downfall than the vocal, but if people are going to like it, they're going to like it. I don't think they've done anything wrong here. I think they've done probably the best they could with the whole thing, so I think it's actually a pretty good effort.
And also when the song changes into that last bit where it's goodbye all life, I just wanted more.
Yeah.
It kind of
that was this big bit,
yeah, it didn't change, and I feel like the song changes at that point.
Yep. All right, Finland, Katja, cha-cha-cha. Oof. Liv, come on, let's start with you.
I feel like maybe I was the most positive out of us on this one, but that first half, sublime. Whatever that little package they've put together, they've changed it up. It tells a really cohesive story. Katja gets all of these different camera moments, and the dancers are introduced in a really good way that doesn't look kind of dinky or overcrowding him. And then the second half was a bit like, I don't know, the rainbow choice that they made with the LEDs, it just draws way too much of your eye away from him, and I want more. I want him. He's the best bit. Give me him. And there's just too much other stuff. Like maybe they've just over-egged it a little bit with the second half of the song. I don't know, but I still think it was bloody good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Katja today, and I totally agree with Liv. That first half, it had momentum, it had power, it had impact, and whether he was holding back for that second half and they're fine with what they've done, it almost kind of, not ground to a halt, but it was two different speeds. It lost the gear in the second one, and it kind of dissipated as it went along. It's still very, very, very good. I'm sure when the energy's there and the full performance happens, I think it's still going to be a big contender.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I guess there's two parts of the song, and it kind of follows that. That first half, that box, what's happening in that first half is like, I was about to lean over and say, well, we've just seen our winner. And then it did change a bit, and I wasn't maybe as positive as you, Liv, about it. But it has some great elements. I just think it's nowhere near as strong as that first half screamed winner. The second half screamed like good result. So where does that all balance out in the end? We'll have to wait and see, but it does feel a very, I don't think Sweden or Finland took the lead today in a very obvious way. They brought something good, they brought something, maybe that can be improved, and we'll have to wait and see how it turns out.
Should be an interesting one.
All right, well, that was the semi-final dress rehearsal. Thanks for your thoughts, guys, and we'll see how it all pans out. Catch you later.